Alright, welcome to this video, and right in this video we are going to be continuing from where we stopped. If you didn't follow up, if you are lost and you don't understand how we got here, I would advise you go back to this channel and go through the video serially so you will not be lost. We've started from somewhere and now we are at this point and we'll be continuing. If you remember, at this point we've talked about so many things: page, file, asset, layer, and so on. And in this video we're going to be talking about some other different stuffs uh as part of continuation. These are things we'll be talking about. We're talking about layer, we're talking about group, frame, and component. So without wasting much time, let's continue. Now, while this interface you can see right here, let's get rid of this. Okay, now we want to talk about layers, groups, frame, and component, right? So I would like to exit this panel, this canvas here. What do? I have to come back to this place where it says Figma. Click on this Figma icon, click on back to file, so it will take us back to the home page. Now, as you can see, all these stuffs here, we are the one that created them, right? So how do we create a new Figma design? Remember, we don't go to project, right? We're not collaborating, we're just designing. So we come up to this place where it says draft. We can click on the plus, or we can click on design. But let's go through this route. So click on design, click on draft, click on design, and then we are here, a new file, right? So I can come up here, name it as let's say class 2, because this like our second class. Sorry, double tap and name it let's say class, I just want to name it anything, class 2, and then tap anywhere on the screen and that saves the name, right? So I'll click on this. Right now we want to talk about layers. What are layers? Remember when we talked, we said this is layer, right? So let's say I come back to this our panel here and drag a rectangle. Now we can see what we have as a rectangle, and this rectangle appears right under this layer. If I click on this drop down icon here, we'll find our rectangle there. And if I bring down a frame here, this is a frame. Now these two elements, this is a rectangle, this is a frame, they are all under this layer. And what is a layer? A layer is like, we've talked about this in the other videos, where we say that our layers are like places where our elements in the design are being stored, right? Now if this is a frame, and if this is a rectangle and this is a frame, all stored under the layer. If I want to bring maybe another icon, if for example we have let's use an ellipse. We have done this before. You can find the ellipse right under this layer. Now the next thing I want to talk about is groups, right? Let's talk about group. For grouping, if let's say I have this guy here, let me bring out text here. Let's say hello. And for those of you that don't know how I brought out the text, let me go back. Let's do that again. Let me go back over that. Let me delete this, and then I'll click on T on my keyboard, T, and it brings down this plus icon, so I can tap anywhere, drop the icon anywhere. Look at this plus on the screen, drop it anywhere, and it becomes like a text blinking stuff for me to write down my text. So I can now type whatever I want to type. Hello. Yes, I want to change the font of this text. I'll highlight everything, double tap on it, or Control A to highlight everything. Then go to the right hand panel. You'll see where you can change the font. So I'll just make this font very big. Let me make it 48, right? You see the size has enlarged. Now, as this is a text, I can drag this text and put it inside this rectangle. Now, because this is a rectangle, of course, if I move the rectangle, it doesn't move along with the text. But if the same way I carry this text, I want to duplicate this text. How do I do that? I'll just click on Ctrl plus D, which is Ctrl D. I have a duplicate of it now. I can drag it. Or another alternative way to duplicate is to hold it like this. Okay. All right. If I don't want to duplicate, let's say I want to copy this. I'll right click and I'll copy. Come to this place. I'll just paste here, and allow. And we have our text. I can now drag that text. Now look at this. Observe how this text that I'm holding moves now. If I hold this text, now look at this left hand panel. This is our layer panel. Watch as I drag this text into the layer, into this frame. What happens? This text automatically wraps itself inside this frame. Look at, if I move the text out, look at, the text is on its own. Look at this frame, and you can observe that this is a frame, this is a frame, and this is a rectangle. How do we know that? Look at the icon of a frame looking like an hashtag, and look at the icon of a rectangle, a pure rectangle sign. So for a frame, if I drag an object inside a frame, it stays inside the frame and not outside. And look at, for this rectangle, if I move an object inside the rectangle, what happens? The element or the object stays on top of the rectangle but not inside the rectangle. Look at, this is the rectangle here and this is the hello text here. You understand that better? Now look at, if this hello text is inside this frame, if I click on this frame, right, and I try to expand it, so if I click on this frame, come back to this, look at this panel here, click on it, then I click on the scale here, and then let me try to expand that. Is what it does. Look at, you see that the hello text is moving along with the frame, and that's because that's what the scale function does. And if I take it back to move, look at what happens. Only what I'm holding expands, not everything inside it expand. But if I try to move it around, like carry it around, what happens? You see that the hello text goes along with it, because it is a frame and the object is embedded inside the frame. But what about this rectangle? What do you expect? Let's move it around and see. It's not moving. Let's even try to do the scale thing and see. Scale and move. You see, it only moved the rectangle but not the this, not the hello text inside, as opposed to how it works here. Now, why that is because a rectangle cannot contain an object inside of it. Only a frame can. Look at this frame. So it means this frame is a container carrying this hello text here. But for a rectangle cannot serve as a container to carry another object. I hope that makes sense, right? So, but a way we can do for this rectangle to carry this hello text is by doing what we call grouping. So what we can do now is to select all of this, right? To select all of this, we right click on it, then come down, you see where it says group selection. And alternatively, you can use Ctrl+G, which is Ctrl G, to group an element or item. So Ctrl G, and we've grouped it. So if I move it around now, you see, it's going and behaving just the way this one behaves. Just the way this one behaves. That's why if you come back here now, because we've grouped it, you see it's now a group named as group carrying hello and rectangle. Whereas this is just a frame carrying frame 1 and hello. I hope this makes sense. Now, for frame, we have been talking about frame. There are different ways we can have our frames. Now, if I click on F on my keyboard, F, look at what happened. Look at the right hand panel. It brings out those frames here. Look at the top, there is frame, there is phone, Android, and all the kind of frames. Now, a frame is like your container that houses all your design. That's what your frame is. Now, minus the frame we used to draw out here, I said if you click on F on your screen, on your keyboard, you will find this menu coming up, which is for the frame. So you can choose any frame. Let's say I want to pick up the desktop frame, and then for me to, I click on the desktop, then click on it again, and I find the frame for desktop size screen here. If for any reason I don't want the desktop frame, I can still click on the F on my keyboard again and come back to, let's say I want a phone screen, let's say iPhone 16, and then we have an iPhone 16 screen size here. And also if I want maybe a tablet, and then click on the F on my screen keyboard again, come back and go under the tablet section, click the drop down. I have different tablets I can choose, so let's click the tablet expanded, and then we have all of this here, and they are all frame. And if let's come back to this first frame here, let me drag it down. We have this first frame, right? Now for this first frame, I can name it, it's desktop already. Look at evidence here. If I want to design for a desktop screen, I will choose this screen and then start adding my elements. Although for, let's say I want to bring up what's it called, an ellipse. I add my ellipse here, Let's see, this is what I want to design. Then I want to bring up another stuff here. These are the stuffs. Then I have like two here. I have another one, and then I have all of them like this. So as you can see, I'm designing on this frame, and as I'm adding everything, look at on this in the layer section, they are all adding up inside this frame and not outside the frame. How you can see that is, look at, if I have this element, which is this rectangle here, if I carry the rectangle towards the side, you notice that the rectangle doesn't show outside. Look at, doesn't appear outside. Everything I'm adding inside here, look at, observe the edges, they are not coming out, like they are not obvious outside. That means I am designing inside a house and not something that can extend outside the house. So look at the frame as a house, that everything that's happening inside is contained inside, or everything that's inside is contained inside, unlike a rectangle. Enough of that, for frame. We have gotten enough idea of what frame is. So the next thing is component. Component is a bit tricky but very simple. Let's take, for example, I want to design, let's bring let's use an ellipse for example. I bring out this ellipse like this, right? Yeah, let's see. Let's have this ellipse like this. Then it's not a perfect ellipse. To draw a perfect ellipse, you hold the shift key, right? We're on the ellipse. Then hold your shift key, then you draw. Start drawing. Make sure you hold the shift key until you have finished drawing before you see this is perfect compared to the other one. Now, while we are on this, we want to learn what components is all about, right? Now we have this. Then I want to bring up a rectangle beside it. Bring up another rectangle, another rectangle. Now, all of this like this, right? All of this, I can highlight all of them and come to this place. Look at this place where it says um sorry. Look, if you come to this place, this three, what's it called? Where it says create, you can find it in different way. If let's start with this, let's make it simpler. Click on just one item, just one item. I want to make it a component. Let me make this bigger one first, this bigger item. And if you come to this place, notice it changes. This is a component. With this icon here, I can change this object to a component. Click on it, it becomes a component. Look at, this becomes a component. If I come to my asset panel, right, and this is ellipse 2, and then I click on this created in this file, click on created in this file, and I'll find this ellipse 2 there, only the ellipse 2. If I now come back here, that's now saved as component. If I come back to my design, click on this and come to this right hand panel, you see it says create component. Just click on it, automatically it creates another component. Look at, it has appeared here. So we have two components in our file, in our asset, two of them here. Now let's see how component works. Let's now use it to work, right? Let's go back, come back to file. All right, so if I want to bring why we use component is because we want to reuse our element in the design. That's how we make them a component. So if I click on this now and I go back to my asset and click on this on file here, then I can click it here. It said insert instance because I want to insert this ellipse. Then click on insert instance and automatically, let's look for the instance. I should have brought it somewhere else, not on this place. Let's make that easier so you understand. Let's click on this expandable file, which is the iPad here. Then we are not on this place again, but want to bring out our instance. So let's click on this here, then click on insert instance, and that instance becomes inserted on our Android expandable iPad here. Now if I come back to this our original file, which is this our asset, this original ellipse, this one is the instance we drew out. If I come back to this original one and I decide to change the color, you can color here and make it red. I didn't change the one we added in our file, so let's go back to the one we added in our file and see it changes too. This is how component works. So if maybe I want to change the color here, observe what will happen. If I change the color here, this is the original file, which is the one in here. We just added this as instance. If I change the color here again, look at it will change. Whatever I do to this here, happens here. So the relationship between the component and the instance, which is the one here, the instance here, is that of a parent and a child. So this is the parent, which is the original one, and the instance is the child. Whatever you do to the parent affects the child, which is the instance. Let's do same thing for this other one here. Let's first of all click on where we want to drop our stuff. Let me make this one smaller. Remember, I should hold the shift, make this one smaller, then click on the frame we want to add it, then add the second one, insert instance. It automatically gets inserted. So I'm not going to change the color here. I'm going to change it from the original. This is the original one, which is the parent that we created the instance from. So I'm going to change the color here to red. It to red now. You see what happened? We change that to red. You see, whatever you do to the parent affects the child here. That is how component works. So if I have multiple of this in my screen, let's say I have one, I have another one. Now instead of me to be changing the color up and down, all of them, I can just come to this parent here. Maybe you design the designers, the owner of the design said that they don't want that color. You can simply come back since you have it as a component. So let me change that here. See, it's changing along. Whatever I do affects the child as well. So that is how the component system works. The component just has to do with parent affect designing designing one thing and spreading it across your screen, and then having a control over it just by altering one of the design. So now remember, when I try to highlight so many things, more than one, look at, instead of us to have, look at, if I click on one here, we have just one start to create components. But if I highlight two, that disappears. So how do I now create component of two items? Come to this three hamburger sign here and then click on create component. Or you can create, let's stick with this create component and not create component set. Let's click on create component. Automatically we have these two here as component. So guys, I have to make all of this clear because as we are going further, we are going to be needing all of this. In order not to make this video too long and boring, I'm going to stop at this point and we'll continue in the next video. Please make sure to revise and understand this. If you don't understand, you can ask me in the comment section and I'll be there to answer you. Until then, see you in my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.